The engines roar around the blazing sun. Dust flies high when the race is won. The rubber burns on the asphalt plane. Full throttle outlaws breaking the chain. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Steel beasts crowd the thunderstorm. In the heat of the fight we take our form. The flag waves high as the green light call. We live for the rush, the rise, the fall. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Steel beats growl like a thunderstorm. In the heat of the fight we take our form. The flag waves high as the green light call. We live for the rush, the rise, the fall. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Racing the night, chasing the glow. Tires screaming with nowhere to go. Victory sweet, but the fight's the prize. For the outlaws who will never lie. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Built for speed. Built for speed. The engines roar around the blazing sun. Dust flies high when the race is won. The rubber burns on the asphalt plane. Full throttle outlaws breaking the chain. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Steel beasts crowd the thunderstorm. In the heat of the fight we take our form. The flag waves high as the green light call. We live for the rush, the rise, the fall. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Steel beats growl like a thunderstorm. In the heat of the fight we take our form. The flag waves high as the green light call. We live for the rush, the rise, the fall. We're the kings of the open track. No looking forward, no turning back. Adrenaline pumping, hearts in the lead. Full throttle outlaws built for speed. Racing the night, chasing the glow. Tires screaming with nowhere to go. Victory sweet, but the fight's the prize. For the outlaws who will never lie.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rumble here with the Full Throttle Outlaws Racing League. As these trucks are ready to rock and roll, ready to go to battle here in this one. Let's get that changed up here. It is the Full Throttle, if I spell that right, Throttle Outlaws. Perfect. There we go. Okay, I want to make sure I get that top banner fixed up there. It's all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Here we go. We get ready to go to battle. We get ready to duke it out here in this one back at the amazing Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tonight, we got a long one. It's a big race, a massive race here for these drivers. 184 laps of racing action, and all 17 of these drivers ready to go to battle, ready to duke it out here in what's going to be probably a very, very interesting race. I think this is going to be one of our better races. It's going to be very intense, very long. It's going to make things very, very, crazy for a lot of these drivers, man. This is going to make things very fun for these guys as we do have two stages. Lap 30 will be stage break number 1. Lap 92 will be stage break number 2. So a short run to the first stage, a long run there to stage number 2. And with this being a mile-and-a-half racetrack, a very big track, a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to move and maneuver out there on the racetrack. You can have a lot of highs and lows. As K-Dub, Kevin Winker, K-Dub says, I think I got my paint finally working tonight. Well, K-Dub, let's take a look. Let's take a look-see-poo and see as he will start back there a little deeper in the field as these guys get ready to rumble. They get ready to roll. They get ready to go to battle. Here in this one is that beautiful Muehlberger Custom Homes, that beautiful purple yellow ride, the Sonic Graphic Designs machine there of Kevin Winker looking fresh as he rolls out onto the racetrack. He'll be at the back of the pack, unfortunately, here this evening. Is starting on the pole in that number 78 ride, the Cobalt machine. It's Kyle Gray. To his outside in the 49, that is Scott Rankin. Starting in position number 3 in the 77, that is Michael Miller. To his outside in the 4 ride, that is Jesse Calloway. Starting in position number 5 in the 97 machine, it's the winning bid ride of Colton Hardy. To his outside, the 5 is Rusty Modesty. And then we see the 87 machine, that is, that is the 29 of Christian Strader. Strader will start there in position number 7. Hunter Carlson to his outside. Then we see Joe Yates in the Discount Tire 87. Bruce Bernard there in that Gators number 17 ride. Then we see Michael Yates, Jesse Wise, Stephen Littrell there in position number 14. Charles Van Schaig right there, same with Kevin Winker and David Trailer bringing up the rear of the field here in the 54 machine. As 16 drivers take the green flag and quickly launching out in front, it's the Cobalt Lowe's number 78 ride. It is Kyle Gray out in front and looking to try to pick up a big dub here in this one, but we instantly see that caution flag come out. So an early caution flag here in this one did not take us long, as it looks like the 32 of Hunter Carlson going to run into some problems here, as it looks like things get a little log jammed up in front of him. Now I do believe that's the 4 of Mr. Jesse Calloway here. I'm not sure if Jesse gets jacked up right here or what may have happened, but we watch this Vulcan number 4 machine. Looks like he just spins the tires right there. The 5 ride goes to his outside, then he tries to come back down. Unfortunately, the 32 ride's already there. Ends up tagging the 32. He's trying to catch it, trying to keep that car pointing the right direction and trying to squeeze by and gain an early spot. Unfortunately, it goes the wrong way for him out there on the speedways. Let's take a look at it here as Hunter sees that the 4 ride right here runs into that problem, gets up into the fence. Now he comes down the track, takes him, gets him sideways. He's trying to get it collected, gets hit again by the 4. Unfortunately goes around, and that will be our opening caution flag here this evening. Our first caution flag of the day, and it was only about 20 feet away from our start-finish line. So a quick caution flag and a quick restart here this evening for all these drivers. And already we start to see guys head down pit side. Now I don't know if they're looking to get repairs or looking to make some strategy calls or what the game plan is, but we do see Bruce Barnard down pit road, Jesse Calloway, Charles Van Schaig, David Trailer, Hunter Carlson obviously looking for some repairs down pit road in that Studio 86 number 32 ride. K-Dub, Kevin Winker stays out here, and K-Dub will move up a few positions as Shauna Rita. Shauna says hashtag Winker Nation up in the chat. Cheered on Kevin here this evening as that Muleburger Custom Homes at number 42. Ryan rolls now in the 11th position, looking to keep on moving forward as a great start, a great launch there for that Lowe's number 78 Ryan. He quickly opened up a couple car length lead there down through quarter 1 and 2, and looked like he was going to be absolutely shot out of a cannon and gone from everyone else. And all of a sudden that caution flag though brings them all right back to his rear bumper. Now he's going to have to try to do something different, but looking for the same outcome, trying to get this Monte Carlo SS up and into victory lane here this evening. As K-Dub, Kevin Winker coming in with that heart reaction on the broadcast as well. He does get his paint scheme finally working here on these race cars, so we can finally see that new paint scheme here this evening for the number 42 machine, as this is the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 live from the beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway. As these drivers in the full throttle Outlaws get ready to duke it out, get ready to rumble here once again. Looks like they will get stacked up door to door and ready to roll here. The lights should turn off. The official iRacing pace car there, as we do see it kind of come up into screen just ever so slightly. It does look like the lights are turned off. So here we go. Our first restart of the day. We just had our initial start, and quickly we have our first restart. Hopefully things do not continue on that trend, or else it may be a very long night for us up here in the broadcast booth. But nonetheless, we will get ready to set these drivers loose and see what they can do. See if they can keep it together, see if they can get some laps under their belt, as we do know that the first stage here this afternoon, the first stage is only on lap number 30, so it's a very quick run here to the end of that first stage. And for these drivers, they know that there's really not a whole lot to lose in this first stage. You can make a big run, you can try to use those tires up, maybe try to play a little bit of a cat and mouse game, maybe try to save those tires, especially now with this early caution flag. See if you can kind of make it a whole extra trip without having to come down pit side and get any extra tires here, even if we see that caution flag come out at the end of stage number 1. If you save the tires, maybe everyone else takes them, and you're the only one that has that extra set back there in your back pocket. It's here we go. Back to green flag racing is down through the Geico restart zone. Great launch again out of the 78. Times that restart perfectly, gets the jump that he needed across the nose of that 49 Scott Rankin, and leads us back down into corner number 1. This time though, we make it nice and easy through that first corner and through the front straightaway, and by the corner number 2, looks like we keep it clean and green. Everyone's still pointed in the right direction as Kyle Gray leads us down into corner number 3. Nice and easy down and out of 4, and Kyle Gray will lead technically our first green flag lap here this afternoon in the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 here this evening, as Kyle Gray out in front in the Jimmy Johnson paint schemed number 78 machine, rolling there in that top spot. Christian Schrader up and into position number 2 here, quickly making the moves here in that Reese's number 29 ride, up and into second as Michael Miller there in third. Scott Rankin back into fourth here as he's pulled back a few spots on that restart. Unfortunately for that 49 right now, back into position number 4 with Joe Yates right there with him in position number 5, and looking to continue his drive as he goes around that number 49 riding up into the 4th position, so he's down into position number 4 and looking for more as here comes that Taco Bell number 5 rider. Rusty Modesty gonna move around that 49 ride as well. Colton Hardy back there in 7th, Jesse Wise there in 8th. Hunter Carlson working his way back up towards the front here as the 32 rolls there in 9th. Right there, David Trailer back in 11th, Kevin Winker there in 12th. Jesse Calloway, Charles Van Schaik, Stephen Littrell there in position number 15 with Bruce Barnard there in that 16th position. But Bruce actually able to make the move, go around that number 36, and unfortunately move Steven back into position number 16 now on the racetrack. Brent's also not out there on the racetrack here this evening. He is making the admin calls here this evening. And we do see Kyle Gray continue to lead this race, but right there now to his back bumper is the 29 right Christian Strader. Strader maybe thinking about getting that stage win, trying to earn those extra points, trying to put those into his back pocket here for later in this season. We'll have to wait and see if he can make the moves, if he can drive that 29 right to the front of the pack here and lead us across the line at the end of stage number 1. And stage number 1 will come to a close on number 30. Here this evening, as there goes that 29 right. Going to make quick work there of Kyle Gray. Gray slides back to second. Michael Miller now trying to hunt them both down. Same with the 87 of Joe Yates. Excuse me, Yates right there in that 4th spot as well. Justin Monos getting onto that 5th position. A bit of a gap now. Back to our 6th place driver, Scott Rankin. Rankin rolls there into number 6 is Colton Hardy. Hunter Carlson, Jesse Wines, and Jesse Calloway are top 10 if they're on the racetrack. As Christian Strader continues to lead these drivers around Charlotte Motor Speedway. Nice and easy down across the line. They will complete lap number 11. So 11 laps in already into this race. It doesn't seem too long ago that we got things fired off and we got green flag racing underway here. But for these drivers, still a lot of laps left to go. There's still a lot of time if you want to just be patient, try to find your time and try not to make any of those mistakes and put yourself into a position later in this run than what you would hope for early on, as sometimes you can burn these tires up and you fall back early here quickly. And Charlotte, as tire wear is going to be a pretty solid issue here for most of these drivers today, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that. They get a little bit loose, they get a little bit wild. You'll see these drivers slipping and sliding around the racetrack, especially in longer flat runs. But even this first run, the first 30 laps of this race, potentially going pretty much clean and green after our opening lap caution flag. I guess we probably got about lap 4 went back to green flag racing, so not a whole lot of laps under their belt out there, but enough to really make things that much more interesting out there on the speedway. For all these drivers know that it's a shorter run to finish this stage, and some of them are using those fresh tires to their advantage, trying to use them, trying to pick up good stage points, or trying to maybe even pick up that stage win. As Christian Strader out in front, leading this race. Kyle Gray back to second. Here comes that 77 of Michael Miller, but the 87 of Joe Yates, he's right there. Keeping that Dodge ride down low, looking to try to make a move here in that discount tire machine, trying to jump up into position number 3. Rusty Modesty right there as well. He's ready to bounce as our top 5 continue to try to pull away from the rest of the field. Colton Hardy there in 6 with Scott Rankin back in 7. We see Hunter Carlson, Jesse Wise, Jesse Calloway, our top 10. Then Kevin Wanker, K-Dub in that Muhlenberger Custom Homes number 42 machine. He rolls there in 11. David Trailer in the 54 back in 12th with Charles Van Shank in that GOAT Racing Diecast 23 machine. Vic Littrell back there in position number 14 here in the Armstrong number 36 ride. As Michael Yates pulling all the way back now into 15th, and Bruce Barnard back in position number 16, bringing up the rear of the field here in this very small but very, very good, very solid drivers out there on the racetrack, and they always put on a show for us. We get a great show back here. Continue to move for position number 3 on the speedways. Kyle Gray trying to close that gap back into the 29 right, trying to reel in Strider and trying to take that top spot back away before the end of this stage. We've still got a lot of laps left to go down across the line. Lap 17 will be complete, so we got to complete 13 more laps here before our first stage comes to a close, and those stage points are handed out to these drivers. So put yourself into a position to capitalize here this evening and try to earn some of those stage points and try to help your day out, help your cars out, your point standings out that much more here this evening. As the 77 of Michael Miller trying to hang on to that third spot. He's been able to hang on to it and keep that 87 right back at bay. And now you do see Yates, unfortunately, slides back into fifth as Rusty Modesty rolled around his outside. The Dungo Bell right now looking down low, looking to see if he can try to hold something more. Maybe make this move and steal third away from Michael Miller here. Rolls out to the inside. Michael Miller not giving up though to do the battle door to door. This is for that third position on the speedway. Yates right there. He's ready to pounce. He's ready to poke his nose into this fun here towards the front of the field as in front continue to lead this race down across the line. 19 laps done here in this one. The Reese's number 29, a Christian Stringer. All these drivers here this evening. Oh, great. Kyle Gray right there behind him as these top two cats start to pull away from the rest of the field as they were starting to slice it and dice it, go a little bit more 2 wide, 3 wide back there. All of a sudden they have followed back almost a second and a half from our race leader as the 77 of Michael Miller trying to hang on to it. Here comes Rusty Modesty and now the 97 of Colton Hardy as man, looked like that number 87 right at Yates. Yates just kind of fell off right here. Yates unfortunately was just battling, trying to take position. Number 3 away from Michael Miller. Now he slid all the way back into position number 7 as Colton Hardy and Scott Rankin both getting around him here. Inside's all the way back to 7th as here comes Jesse Calloway. Here comes Kevin Winker, David Trailer, Charles Van Schaik, Hunter Carlson slides back into 12th. Jesse Wise there in 13th. Stephen Littrell back in position number 14 with Michael Yanks and Bruce Barnard bringing up the rear of the field there in that beautiful Florida Gators machine. But as we take a look, man, Colton Hardy looks like he's got that speed, maybe the bit better tires, maybe trying to take it easier in our opening 20 laps or so of this race, and now trying to use the bit fresher tires than these other drivers to his advantage as he's looking to try to slide up here and steal position number 4 away from Rusty Modesty, and he may not be done there as unfortunately Michael Miller right there in front of him as well, but a big gap has now grown. Over 2 seconds between that group and this group. The top 2 drivers, Christian Strader and Kyle Gray, nose to tail out there on the racetrack. The Cobalt Lowe's machine taking a peek down low, looking to try to steal this race lead back away from the 29 riders, potentially just trying to use that strategy. You know that maybe being out in front makes things a little bit more difficult. Maybe you burn up a little bit more tire than what you'd want leading your race. And for the number 78 ride, might maybe just try to lay off the throttle, roll nice and easy out there on the speedway, bide his time until it was time to strike. And now with only about 7 laps left to go in the stage, 6 down across the line, he knew it was time to shine and drive that 78 back to the front of the field. We'll have to wait and see if Christian Strader has anything left in his back pocket to slide up here and maybe make a move and steal this first stage win back away from the 78. Scott Rankin now up and into 3rd here as Rankin moving his way back to the front of the field. Unfortunately, they are still about 2.6 seconds back of our race leader. As Michael Miller there in 4th, Rusty Modesty up and into 5th. Joe Yanks now into 6th here once again as Colton Hardy slides back into 7th. David Trailer, Charles Van Schaik, and Kevin Winker, Kate Dove rounding out our top 10 out there on the racetrack. Jesse Calloway back at 11th with Hunter Carlson, Jesse Wise, Stephen Littrell, Michael Yanks, and Bruce Bernard bringing up the rear of the field. As we take a look back here, we see some of these drivers start to battle door to door as Charles Van Schaik in that beautiful GOAT Racing diecast number 23 ride. He'll slide up in front of that number 54 machine, and unfortunately for David Trailer Jr., now slides back into 9th on the racetrack. As Kyle Gray out in front, Gray continuing to lead the way. Right there with him, though, Christian Strader not letting him run away with it, sticking right there with them within striking distance here as they round corner number 3 and out of 4. Back down across the line, we'll get 3 more laps left here in stage number 1 here this evening. Stage number 2 will end on lap 92 here this evening, so a lot of laps away before we see that next stage come to a close out there on on the speedway. And for all these drivers, they know it. They know that this is potentially probably going to be one of our shorter runs of the evening. So if you can try to take advantage tire-wise, fuel-wise, any kind of a jump or an advantage that you can give yourself out there on the racetrack could be the difference maker between winning this race or unfortunately finishing in the not top spot here this evening. And Strader rolls there in second, watching that 78 ride try to pull away lap by lap by lap. As now you do see that 29 starting to move around, try some different lines, trying to find some different looks here and see if he can find that extra little bit of speed and maybe navigate his way up and in to that top spot once again. But he's got his hands full and he's definitely trying to figure out how to get up here. And if he even catches Kyle Gray, he's still got to figure out a way to try to get around him as Gray. I do believe this is our final lap of stage number 1. Nice and easy down in through corner 1 and 2. You'll lead us back down the back straightaway here in this one. So Kyle Gray heads down into corner number 3. Nice and easy out of corner number 4. And Kyle Gray down across the line will pick up stage win number 1 here this evening. So our first stage coming to a close right there. Our first stage coming to an end here this evening with Christian Strader there in second, Scott Rankin up and in the third. Rusty Modesty, Joe Yakes, our top 5 with Colton Hardy, Charles Van Schaik, David Traylor Jr., Kevin Winker, and Michael Miller rounding out our top 10. As we'll get them all ready to rock and roll, we'll get ready to go back to battle. It's Matt Hayden. What's good, Mr. Hayden? Matt says, get on up there. Christian cheered on Mr. Strader out there on the speedways. Christian right now rolls in position number 2. He did lead some laps there, quite a few laps in that first stage, but Kyle Gray, our pole sitter, kind of just playing that cat and mouse game with him. Let him go early on. Saw like he was using up those tires a little bit more than the 78 wanted to, so he kind of just fell in line behind him, used the draft, and kind of just stuck to the back bumper there, or a couple car lengths off of him, but didn't let him run away with it. And then once we kind of hit that, about 7-8 laps left to go here in this first stage, 78 ride came right back to life, drove up, made the move around the 29, and made sure he won this first stage of the day. It's Kyle Gray, Christian Strader, Scott Rankin, Rusty Modesty, Joe Yanks, and all of our other drivers about to head down pit road here in this one. So they will start to make some pit stops now. It's going to be time to kind of play some strategy here. We may potentially see drivers go with no tires. We may see drivers go with 2. Or we may see drivers just throw on a full set of 4 here this afternoon and see if that can potentially put them up and into victory lane here this evening, as they got 5 sets of tires, man, and we're only 30 laps into this race. So 30 laps in out of our 184 laps of racing action. So virtually still about, by the time we go back to Green Flag Racing, about 150 laps left of this race. That is still a very, very long time. That is a lot of laps, a lot of rolling out there on the speedway and using up a set of tires early on or before they're completely worn out may be a tough strategy call to make, and it looks like a lot of drivers elected to potentially go with no fuel or potentially 2 tires out there on the racetrack, as they're all slowly but surely rolling back out onto the speedway. Here comes that Florida Gators number 17 rider Bruce Bernard. Charles Van Schaik still down pit road, making sure that this GOAT Racing diecast number 23 ride gets completely filled up and ready to go back to battles. We did see Kevin Winker gained up, stays out. Kevin Winker did not come down pit road, so Kevin Winker now scored as our race leader here this evening in that Muhlenberger Custom Homes number 42. We'll go all ready to go back to battle, all ready to start duking it out here again this evening. We'll be right back as there goes our race leader. Kevin Winker just wanted to lead that lap, and now here he comes back down pit road. He's going to make sure he gets that fuel and maybe tires here himself, as we'll be right back in just a few more moments.
Rubber burns, engine scream, we hit the track, a wild train, full throttle outlaws, hit the crowds extreme, steel beats, trucks rumble, no time to relax, bass scrape, sparks fly, trading chrome on the tracks. Pedal to the metal, we don't ever stall, outlaws ripping asphalt, standing tall, high stakes, sharp turns, we live for the rush, racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. gas, fumes, and grit. It's the life we chose. Drafting tight, cutting lines where the danger grows. Pit stop swift, time spin, every second's gold. Chasing checkered flags, legends to be told. From Daytona to Vegas, the roars ignite. Under stadium lights, the trucks take flight. Fans on their feet, hearts pound, no doubt. This the full throttle league where the balls stand. Down to the metal, we don't ever stall. Outlaws ripping asphalt, standing tall. Hot stakes, short turns, we live for the rush. Racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. It's the track we trust. From Daytona to Vegas, the roars ignite. Under stadium lights, the trucks take flight. Fans on their feet, hearts pound, no doubt. This the full throttle league where the bold stand out.
Alrighty, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, back to Green Flag Racing here at the beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway as Kyle Gray, another great restart there into that Cobalt Lowe's machine as my boy Eric Hardy. Eric coming in with that like on the street. What is good, Eric? How are you, brother? As here we go, back to battle here this evening. Kyle Gray, Christian Schrader, 1 and 2 out there on the racetrack. Got Rankin right there in position number 3 with Joe Yates, Colton Hardy, David Trailer, that number 77 right on Michael Miller up on the high side looking to move around Mr. Trailer out there on the speedways. Rusty Modesty, Hunter Carlson, and Steven Littrell rounding out our top 10 here this evening. And some great racing action after our first stage came to a close. Here we are all bunched back together, everyone now on a little bit of a different strategy, but the same strategy for a lot of these drivers. Obviously trying to save tire, trying to save fuel, trying to put themselves into what could be a winning strategy here this evening, as that's what it could really come down to. As our next stage will be at lap 92, so we're still about 55 laps or so away from seeing our second caution, our third caution flag potentially, but also our second stage break here this evening on lap 92. So that is a very, very long time. I do not believe these drivers can make it that far on fuel, so we will have to either see a yellow for drivers to be able to come down pit side and make it to the end of this stage on fuel, or we will have to see them make these green flag pit stops, and that's where things can get very, very interesting in a quick hurry. As Eric Hardy says, painting and cheering on that 97 ride. Says, let's go Cole. Cheering on Mr. Colton Hardy. Is Hardy making some moves here? Hardy laying down some very fast lap times out there on the racetrack, and Hardy now moves that 97 ride, the winning big number 97 machine up and into position number 2, and he may not be done there as he's trying to hunt down Christian Schrader. Schrader again early in the run, able to make the move, get around Kyle Gray. Gray slides back to 3rd. Scott Rankin there in 4th with Michael Miller now back up inside our top 5 in that good wrench service plus number 77 right. David Trailer right behind him. Joe Yates, Rusty Modesty, Jesse Galloway there in the 4 right. Now slides into 9th as Hunter Carlson slides back into that 10th position. Steven Littrell there in 11th with Michael Yanks, Jesse Wise, Bruce Barnard, Charles Van Schaik, and Kevin Winker. K-Dub back there in position number 16. Unfortunately for these guys, they are quite a ways behind our race leaders already, but I think a lot of different strategy here, whether it's fuel or tires for the 42 and the 23 ride, trying to figure out a way to try to get that edge, that advantage potentially later in this race to put themselves up and into victory lane. As Colton Hardy continues to lead the way. Hardy now out in front and show these drivers how to get it done here in this one, as he's looking to try to pick up what would be a big win here this evening for that 97 machine. As the winning bid ride out in front, continuing to lead some laps here in this one, looking to find victory lane in the winning bid ride. Winning this race would be a big one here for these drivers, as I do believe they're counting this as virtually our Memorial Day race here, just like NASCAR does. So a bit of our Memorial Day race here for these drivers, and having these beautiful NASCAR Cup cars, the Gen 3 machines out there on the speedway. Always looking good, always looking amazing out there on the racetrack, as things are fast. These things are very, very aerodynamic. They are very tricky to drive, especially when you start getting into some of the bumps that have been created here at Charlotte as they head down into corner number 3. These things get very, very bumpy, and you'll see these bumps in the car start to want to move around and jump around out there on the racetrack. And let's see if we can jump on board here with Colton Hardy for a lap with our race leader and see exactly what he sees in the cockpit. See some of these bumps and everything else as see these wheels, everyone trying to just slide through corner 1 into almost full throttle for the most of it, but down the back straightaway, right back into that full throttle, and all of a sudden down into corner number 3 here. This is where you really see those bumps, see those hands moving. They're trying to make sure that these cars stay straight, keep that rear end underneath of them, and keep the car pointed in the right direction out there on the racetrack. Here we go, a lap around Charlotte Motor Speedway on board with our race leader, Colton Hardy. As Hardy continue to lead the way here in this one. Schrader right there behind him as now we do see some issues for Jesse Calloway. Look out, Calloway! Oh! Jesse Calloway running into some problems here. Let's take a look back. Looks like he goes for a ride through the infield right here. Trying to make the move underneath the 77 ride. And unfortunately, him and Michael Miller end up making a little contact here off of corner number 4 as the 4 gets loose, washes up the track, bounces off the door, and then tries to cut down through the rollable way there, and luckily enough, able to cut the track, keep that car for the most part pointing the right direction until all of a sudden right here, the 17 ride's going to get a piece of them there. It's some pretty solid damage there for the 4 machine, pretty solid damage for that 17 of Bruce Bernard, and unfortunately for Jesse Calloway, rough start to this race for that 4 machine as he rolls all the way back in that 14th position. But right now, still hanging on, trying to keep this car right there on the racetrack, not wanting to go a lap down out there on the speedways. Here we go. Christian Schrader, Colton Hardy battling here at the front of the field. Kyle Gray not too far away there in third with David Traylor. Now up and into position number 4 and looking for more. Joe Yates and the 49 of Scott Rankin, door to door for that 5th position with Rusty Modesty right there in tow. Michael Miller, who we saw got tied up there in that contact between him and the 4 ride there, and unfortunately for Jesse Calloway, Jesse got the worst end of the deal as he went down through the infield and then had some contact there between the 17 and 77 Michael Miller able to keep on trucking back in the 8th position. Hunter Carlson there in 9th with Stephen Luttrell there in position number 10 on the speedway, and then we see Michael Yates, Jesse Wise, Bruce Barnard there in position number 13, Jesse Calloway, Charles Van Shane, Kevin Winker, our top 16 out there on the racetrack, bringing up the rear of the field. And right now, K-Dub, he's about 18 seconds behind our race leaders right now, so a little bit of different pitch strategy for some of these drivers. And here we go. We do see Charles head down pit road here. So Charles Van Schaik down pit road here in this one. Oh, brother, this is a very, very interesting one as the 23 heads down pit side. He will go a lap down out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately, as he makes this pit stop, you do see the tires being put on, potentially just a big brain move here for that number 23. Maybe he knows something that these other drivers don't know. Maybe he can lead you to the end of the stage, looking to try to use the fresher tires early on to his advantage, and you're trying to see if he can put himself out in front. We'll see if that brings any other drivers down pit road or if he's going to be the one on that move. But here we go. We figured we'd see this car come down pit road on a completely different strategy here as well. So him and Charles Van Schaik both on some wild strategy games here this evening as the 42 of Kevin Winker does come down pit side here himself. That Sonic Graphic Designs Wheelburger Custom Homes number 42 machine now out there in that 15th position, getting ready to roll back out onto the racetrack here as Charles Van Schaik about to go around him here as he's finally back up the full song and burn that motor. He's humming, and Kevin Winker still down the apron trying to get this thing rolling. There goes that 23 ride. So right now, Charles Van Schaik, he is the first driver 1 lap down. So worst case scenario on this strategy, it doesn't quite work out for Charles. Luckily enough for himself, potentially the first car a lap down, so he could get back onto the lead lap with a caution flag for Kevin Winker. It's going to be a tough game for him right now as that 42 ride. He's got the fresher tires. He's a fast driver, good driver, but he is 2 laps down here. He needs to get up onto his horse here and hunt down our race leaders and reach out, put himself back to only 1 lap down out there on the racetrack. He does not want to be 2 laps down, as you can get sucked back there a couple laps back in a quick hurry, and unfortunately never recoup from it, as my boy Anthony Karp coming in with that like on the stream. Gene Carlos also coming in, showing the love here in this one. How are you, Gene? How are you? Anthony coming in, showing the love here this evening as we get these drivers rolling here this afternoon. It is Christian Schrader out in front, leading this race. Kyle Gray there in second with David Traylor in the 49. Scott Rankin back in fourth. Then see Joe Yates, Rusty Modesty, Colton Hardy there in seventh. Hunter Carlson, Stephen Luttrell, and Michael Miller rounding out our top 10. Michael Yates back in 11th with Jesse Wise. Bruce Barnard, even with that little bit of damage that he got in the 17 ride, still rolls in 13th, and a little bit of damage there for Jesse Calloway. Rolls in 14th and looking to make the move back around the 17 ride, and looks like Calloway will move up into 13th. Bruce will slide back to 14th. Charles Van Schaik, the first car 1 lap down after already making his green flag pit stop here in stage number 2. Potentially the only green flag pit stop he will need today. And then we see Kevin Winker about 4.5 seconds back behind him here for K-Dub. He is still 2 laps down here. He still needs to try to slide up here and make some moves and try to put himself back into a position where he's only 1 lap down. It's actually, I do believe he is now officially 1 lap down, so he has made the move. Those fresh tires, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, those fresh tires mean the world out there on the racetrack. And for the number 42, Kevin Winker, it wasn't too many laps ago we saw him passing for what was the 3rd position, or what would have been for the 3rd position if he wasn't a lap down, and quickly caught up, closed that gap, and moved right on around Kyle Gray and Christian Schrader. So big moves out of that 42 ride already here in this one. Now, the big question is going to be, when will we see the other drivers start to head down pit side? I feel like a lot of these drivers are going to try to split the stage. They're going to try to cut it right in half here this evening, as Brandon Noah says, hashtag Winker Nation cheered on K-Dub here this evening. How are you, Brandon? How you doing, Mr. Noah? Has in front, Christian Schrader continues to lead this race. Schrader in front of the field with Kyle Gray back there in second. We saw this play out in stage number 1, where the 29 ride jumped up, took the race lead away from this 78 early on in the run. And then 78 ride came on strong later in this run. Seems like he's definitely got that long run speed in that 78 machine. And here he is trying to hunt back down this 29 ride, looking to put himself back up and into the race lead here this evening, as Scott Rankin back in 3rd. Rusty Modesty now up into 4th after he makes the move around Joe Yates. Yates slides back into 5th as David Traylor there in 6th. Colton Hardy back in 7th. He's battling door to door with the 32. Hunter Carlson is Carlson and Hardy door to door out there on the racetrack for 7th and 8th on the speedway. Stephen Luttrell back there with them in position number 9. Michael Miller there in 10th. And we see Michael Yates, Jesse Calloway, Jesse Wise, Bruce Barnard, Charles Van Schaik, and the 42 and Kevin Winker rounding out our 16 car field here this evening. As Christian Schrader continues to lead this race. Schrader down into corner number 3. Nice and easy down and out of corner number 4. And they will click off lap number 60 here this evening. So 60 laps in here in this one. Already 60 laps complete here this evening, as William Jeanette, hopefully I'm saying that right, says hi over there on YouTube. How are you, William? How are you doing this evening? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful day here this evening, as Christian Schrader continue to lead the way here. Kyle Gray right there in second. Now we start to see Maybe a few more drivers starting to bite that bullet, head down pit side. Here comes that Florida Gators number 17 machine. Bruce Barnard heads down pit road. We're going to start to see these drivers wanting to really make that additional pit stop here in this stage, as they can't make it to the end of stage number 2 on the tank of fuel that they all got on lap 32, so they do have to make a pit stop here, whether it's under the caution flag or whether it is under some of this racing action, green flag conditions out there. We may see some more green flag pit stops, and here we go. We may see our race leader. No, looks like he's just hugging that blue and white line and just running the shortest way around the racetrack, and he is making it work. As here we go, we do see the 49. Scott Rankin, and Colton Hardy, they both head down pit road. Now, this is going to be good news for Charles Van Schaik and Kevin Winker, as more and more drivers start to make these green flag pit stops. It could cycle them potentially back onto the lead lap and potentially out in front of the field, but they're going to have a whole lot older tires than everybody else, and they're going to have a whole lot more speed than they will, and they'll potentially be able to just pull the doors right on off of them. As Rankin down pit side, Jesse Calloway down pit road, Colton Hardy also down pit side there in that 97 machine, and the winning bid bride, as here they come rolling back out onto the racetrack as they leave their pit stalls and roll back up and try to get back up to speed here. We'll see where Charles Van Schaik kind of lines up, as here he comes rolling around a bunch of these guys. We'll see where Kevin Winker kind of slots in there, as well as Winker is about 5 seconds back of that 23 ride, as Charles Van Schaik, unfortunately, even with that pit strategy, was not enough, as Scott Rankin comes out of the pit still in front of that 23 ride. So Scott now up and into 10th here, as we see Michael Yates head down pit road. So Yates makes his way down pit side. That is Michael Yates on pit road. Is Christian Schrader, our race leader, Kyle Gray there in second. They got a bit of a lead now, 2.5 seconds between themselves and Rusty Modesty. Rusty rolls back there in that third position. David Trailer right there. Hunter Carlson up into fifth. Stephen Luttrell and Michael Miller now are top 7 on the speedway, as unfortunately, we do see a couple more drivers head down pit road. Joe Yakes in that Discount Tire Dodge, number 87 ride. He heads down pit road. Michael Yakes still down pit side here as well, finally getting that car fully serviced and rolling back out onto the racetrack here. And for that number 93, the iRacing ride, he is scored all the way back now in the 14th position, but bunch of these drivers in front of him going to have older tires, and he's going to be looking to use these fresh tires to his advantage to potentially put himself up and into victory lane here this evening, as Christian Schrader continues to lead the way. Schrader out in front, as nice and easy down through corner number 3, nice and easy out of corner number 4, and back down across the start finish line. We will click off 67 laps of racing action here this evening. So 67 laps down, we are virtually just a bit over our 1/3 of the way through this race. So just a little over 1/3 of the way through this race here this evening. So still a lot of time, a lot of racing, and we know at least one more caution flag will come out at the end of stage number 2, which will be at the completion of lap number 92 here this afternoon. So with that being said, these laps are counting down. Drivers are getting very, very, intrigued on what they need to do here. Whether or not the tire wear is going to be that major of an effect, where if we see the 29 ride come down pit road as late as he can, potentially as he comes back out, he's going to have fresh tires, but will he have enough time to try to gain all that time back? Will he be able to close the gap and drive back to the front of the field here, or will he leave himself with not enough time to make these passes, to make these moves, and try to put himself up and into the top spots here this evening? As right now, we look back here at drivers like Scott Rankin. Scott Rankin, last time around, ran a 29.74. Our race leaders ran a 31.1. So that is virtually almost a second and a half slower than those drivers that have the fresh tires. So if you're giving up a second and a half every single lap, and some of these guys weren't down pit road too long ago where their tires may still be pretty good, you may not be able to gain that time back that you're giving up right now with the older tire strategy out there on the racetrack. So for Christian Strider, Michael Gray, Rusty Modesty, their calculators have got to be absolutely on fire right now, trying to decipher and trying to figure out what they need to do or where they need to be to try to put themselves into a situation to potentially pick up this checkered flag here this evening, as it is going to be a tough one, I think. This is a long race, chat. Very long race. A lot of possibilities. A lot of issues can happen in a quick hurry. We could see a bunch of caution flags just keep on being displayed, and drivers that may find themselves, early on, potentially out of this race, could find themselves potentially right back into it with some of these yellow flags that could be produced out there on the racetrack. As man, some absolutely amazing battles out there, amazing strategies being played out, as we did see that number 49 rider, Scott Rankin. Rankin did just drive right on around our race leader, that 29 rider, Christian Schrader. So Schrader now has given up a lap here, and now we do see that 49 back onto the lead lap out there on the racetrack. So I'm not sure what the strategy calls are going to be. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but for a lot of these drivers, could become very hard in a quick hurry. It could become very difficult to try to put yourself into a stage-winning strategy, as we now see the 77 ride. The Good Wrench Service Plus machine heads down pit road. So Michael Miller making that pit stop here now. Well, he'll be the first one that we can kind of see with those little bit old or a little bit newer tires than some of these other drivers out there on the racetrack, is they've got only about 16 laps left to go here in this stage. So not a lot of laps left in the stage. So really burning up these tires with only 16 laps or so on them, definitely going to make things that much more interesting, and how much of a tougher call for drivers like Christian Schrader, Kyle Gray, David Traylor, Rusty Modesty, Hunter Carlson, Stephen Littrell. For a lot of these drivers, even coming down pit road now and burning a set of tires, I'm not sure if that's going to work out well for them. They may try to play a little bit of strategy, maybe just get fuel or try to make it to the end of the stage. I don't know if they'll be able to make it or not, but just not taking the tires at all and seeing if they could save an extra set for later in this race may be the winning move to do out there on the speedway, as Schrader continues to lead the way. Kyle Gray right there with them. They're all the same strategy, but Christian Schrader has put himself out in front here by about 1.2 seconds. Now between himself and Kyle Gray, about 5 and almost 6 seconds back behind them. Our third place driver, that 54 rider, David Traylor. Rusty Modesty not too far back behind him, and that Taco Bell number 5 ride rolls there in 4th. Hunter Carlson back in 5th, and Stephen Littrell there in 6th. And then we see Scott Rankin back in position number 7 here on the racetrack. Now Rankin does have the fresher tires, does have the fuel, and he is back on the lead lap and looking to try to race his way potentially all the way around the racetrack, and maybe still trying to snag a couple spots before the end of this stage, as Joe Yakes also looking to try to put himself back on the lead lap here. Christian Schrader not too far in front of him, as here comes Rusty Modesty. Modesty now going to make that green flag pit stop here himself. So let's take a look and see what the 5 ride decides to do here. If he takes tires, if he just tries to play it out and see how the strategy is going to finish off here for him. I'm not sure how this is going to be decided or how it's going to be deciphered, but for a lot of these drivers, it'll be very interesting. Is, yeah, there you go. You do not see tires going on to this 5 ride. So he is taking that big strategy call, just getting fuel only, rolling back out there on the racetrack now. He's probably going to give up stage points, probably not going to get a great finish there in the stage. Should hopefully stay on the lead lap, but unfortunately for him, he's going to have to wait a little bit for that bit of a different strategy to play out for him, as we do see that 32 ride, the Studio 86 ride, heads down pit side here himself. We'll see if there's tires going on this 32. Does not look like it. Looks like another driver just getting fuel only and looking to roll back out onto the track. There goes Hunter Carlson. Is now, here we go, our race leader, the Reese's ride, heads down pit road. Christian Schrader could not wait any longer. He comes down pit road. Same with David Traylor and Stephen Littrell, all down pit road here in this one. And Scott Rankin rolls around them. Rankin looking to try to pick up that race lead as Kyle Gray now heads down pit road here himself. There goes Gray, the Lowe's Cobalt Tools, number 78, heads down pit side here. So a bunch of different pit strategies, a bunch of different pit calls for these drivers, and each and every one of them trying to hit it perfectly, trying to put themselves into the winning situation. And for this stage, potentially going to go in the favor of the 49 rider, Scott Rankin. Rankin making the right call, the right time to be able to head down pit road and put some tires on, put some fuel into this 49 ride, and here he is looking to try to just drive away with this second stage win, but he still has about 12 laps left in this one to go. So as he's still got 12 laps left to go, what was our race leader, Christian Schrader. Schrader rolls out there in position number 4 right now. So Schrader, who came down pit road about 17 laps after that number 49 rider, Scott Rankin. He's got much faster tires. He's got a lot more grip in that number 29 ride. He's going to be able to run some pretty crazy lap times compared to the 3 drivers in front of him. But will he have enough time to hunt any of them down, make any moves, and potentially still win this stage or pick up even better stage points, as he's about 8 seconds behind Colton Hardy. He's about, I want to say 11 seconds behind Joe Yanks and about 18 seconds behind Scott Rankin out there on the racetrack. And that's kind of what we talked about early on in the stage, or through the middle when we started seeing these drivers head down pit side, is that, potentially they're going to be slow out there once these guys got their fresh tires and jump back out there onto the racetrack. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't even know if Christian Schrader, Ray, I think they both only took no tires, so they're on that same strategy call, trying to save an extra set, trying to keep that extra set of tires in their back pocket for later in this race, and that could be the winning strategy if we see a late race caution flag in for a lot of these drivers like Scott Rankin, Joe Yanks, and Colton Hardy, all these guys that came down pit road and put those fresh tires on there around lap 60-ish area, and potentially now with that set burnt off late in this race, they may not have any left. And for those drivers that are saving that extra set, they can just drive right on around them, as we've seen that tire fall off be so much here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And right now, Scott Rankin leads us here in this one. He's got about a 6.3 second gap between himself and Joe Yanks. Yanks back there in position number 2 with Colton Hardy there in 3rd. Christian Schrader back in position number 4 and looking for more is Jesse Calloway. Kyle Gray battle there for 5th and 6th here on the speedway. Charles Van Schaik there in 7th with David Traylor, Rusty Modesty, and Michael Yakes rounding out our top 10. Is Hypershift Racing League. What's good, Hypershift? Hypershift coming in, showing the love. Drop that like on the broadcast here this evening. Man, some absolutely amazing racing, some great flag laps being laid down out there on the speedway, as we have just under 100 laps of this race to go. Just under 100 laps left to battle here this evening for each and every one of these drivers, each and every one of these competitors out there on the racetrack. Is stage number 2 quickly coming to a close here. Look out, the 93 ride. Get a little squirrely right there. Gave a little kiss to that outside fence and painting these walls here at Charlotte for that 93 ride. As Rankin as our number 1 driver out there on the racetrack right now, as the 49 ride continues to lead the way and looking to try to put a few more drivers potentially a lap down out there on the racetrack is Stephen Luttrell. Unfortunately, looks like he is about to go a lap down out there on the racetrack. So there goes that 36 ride. Stephen Luttrell now a lap down. Hunter Carlson there in 13th. Also a lap down to Michael Miller and Bruce Barnard. Jesse Wise, unfortunately, looks like Jesse in the 69 ride has left the racing surface and is taking the 69 back down behind pit wall. You see Kevin Wanker here, K-Dub. He is the last driver on the lead lap right now, and he could potentially be the next driver to go a lap down as our race leader. Not too far back there behind him and quickly reeling in that number 42 machine. K-Dub would like to try to keep himself in that lucky dog position, trying to get that free pass if he goes a lap down, or just trying to put himself on the lead lap here so he can go a lap down, as you do not want to be let down, giving up all that benefit of having the clean track and racing with the drivers that are on the lead lap and everything else, and being shuffled around and potentially being stuck a lap down for the rest of this race. Definitely not the spot that K-Dub wants to be, so he's really going to try to pick up the pace here over the next couple laps and really trying to keep that 49 right back there at bay. But Scott Rankin, he looks poised to try to catch him and put this 42 a lap down, and not too far in front of him, you do see Michael Yakes and Rusty Modesty, David Trailer, a bunch of these drivers not too far away from our race leader here, as well as here he comes back down across the line. 90 laps complete here this evening. So only 2 more laps left here in our second stage of the day. And Scott Rankin looking to try to pick up stage win number 2 as here he comes down to the inside of Kevin Winker. Now, that's still a decent spot for Winker. He will get that lucky dog as long as the number 49 does not go up and pass one of these other drivers in front of Winker, and that could definitely happen as he is closing up the gap to the 93 ride of Michael Yakes in a quick hurry. Rusty Modesty right there, as well as we do see that number 42 machine, Kevin Winker. Winker just trying to keep himself in this lucky dog spot. Stephen Luttrell trying to hunt him down. He knows that is the free pass position right in front of him, and there's only about half a lap left here in this stage as the 94 rolls here in position number 1. He's looking to pick up this stage win as we did see the 93 get up into the fence right there. He's going to get a big run right here and maybe going to put the 93 lap down. No, the 93 stays on the lead lap, is down across the line. The number 49 of Scott Rankin. Rankin will put himself now into the winning position here of stage number 2. So, and 49 picking up that second stage win here today. The 93 just able to stay on the lead lap. Will roll there in position number 10 on the racetrack, just in front of our race leaders down across the line. As Kevin Winker, K-Dub, unfortunately did go a lap down in that Muhlenberger Custom Homes number 42 machine. For K-Dub, he is in that lucky dog position and should get that free pass, should be able to get back onto the lead lap here this evening. And now we'll really see probably everybody come down pit road here and put some fresh tires onto their rides. A lot of these drivers elected to either not try to put on fresh tires late in this run and just trying to roll that out without putting the freshies on here this evening. Other drivers did put those fresh tires on, and unfortunately weren't to set out there. So this is going to be a wild one, chat. This is going to be wild. This tower operator coming in says hashtag Winker Nation as that Muhlenberger Custom Homes, the Winker Nation ride, the Sonographic Designs 42 ride, in that free pass position, should get the wave around, will go into the lead lap and be scored back in the 11th position at the rear of the field here for the next restart, as our race leader Scott Rankin looking to see pit road open up, and here he comes down pit side. So that Nero Power number 49 ride, the OG gear machine, heads down pit side here, looking to make this pit stop and definitely looking to try to use it to his advantage. So we do see Stephen Luttrell, Hunter Carlson, Michael Miller, Bruce Barnard all head down pit side here as well. Unfortunately for Miller, Carlson, Barnard, and Luttrell, unfortunately they will all stay a lap down out there on the racetrack. Kevin Winker does get that wave around the free pass. He is back onto the lead lap as everyone else down pit side looking to get fuel and tires and all that they desire and roll back out there onto the racetrack. As Scott Rankin came down with the race lead, he will leave with that race lead as Joe Yakes comes out in second. Kyle Gray there in third. Christian Schrader back in fourth. Rusty Modesty, David Trailer are top 6. Charles Van Schaik there in 7th with Michael Yakes, Colton Hardy, Jesse Calloway, and now Kevin Winker, our last driver on the lead lap, scored back in 11th. As we'll get ready for the restart, we'll get ready to rock and roll here in just a few more moments. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, don't go anywhere.
Rubber burns, engine scream, we hit the track, a wild dream. Full throttle outlaws, yeah, the crowd's extreme. Feel beats, trucks rumble, no time to relax. Paint scrape, sparks fly, dream chrome on the tracks. Down to the metal, we don't ever stall. Outlaws, ripping asphalt, steady tall. High stakes, sharp turns, we live for the rush. Racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. toes. Drifting tight, cutting lines where the danger grows. Hit stop, swift, tires spin, every second's cold. Chasing checker flags, legends to be told. From Daytona to Vegas, the roars ignite under stadium lights. The trucks take flight, fans on their feet, hearts pound, no doubt. This the full throttle lead, we the bold stand out. To the metal, we don't never stall. Outlaws, ripping asphalt, standing tall. High stakes, sharp turns, we live for the rush. Racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. Pedal to the metal, we don't ever stall. Outlaws, ripping asphalt, standing tall. High stakes, sharp turns, we live for the rush. Racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. Engines growl like wolves, the pack's on the hunt. Bumpers kiss, rivals clash, no room up front. Lap by lap, riding speeds, gospel. Victory tastes sweet, the glory colossal.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we go, getting ready to go back to Green Flag Racing as our final stage of the day is about to get underway here in this one. 88 laps of racing action left here this evening, and for one of these drivers, they will find their way into victory lane. We'll have to wait and see who's got the right strategy, who's made the right calls, and who hacks the car to put themselves up and in to victory lane here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. In our longest race of the season, each and every one of these drivers putting on a absolutely amazing show for us here this evening. These guys putting on a heck of a race, a heck of a battle, door to door, back there behind our race leader as that 49 is Scott Rankin continues to lead the way. But the Cobalt Lowe's number 78 and Kyle Gray right there behind him. Kyle looking to try to put himself back out in front as Rusty Modesty rolls there in third. That 54 David Trailer back and forth with Grayson Schreiner there in fifth. Joe Yanks, Charles Van Schaik, and then we see Colton Hardy, Jesse Galloway, Michael Yanks, our top 10 out there on the racetrack, and K-Dub Kevin Winker, our 11th place driver, the last driver on the lead lap, scored back here in position number 11 right now on the racetrack. Steven Latrell, he is in position number 12 and currently in that lucky dog position. So if we were to see that caution flag fly, he could work himself back onto the lead lap here this evening with Hunter Carlson right there behind him, trying to hunt him down for that lucky dog. Same with Michael Miller and Bruce Bernard, all back, unfortunately, a lap down back there in that 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th position as Jesse Wise, unfortunately, early in this race, unfortunately took that car down pit side and hence not came back out on the racetrack as it looked like he either lost connection or something happened to the 69 ride as he only completed about 59 laps of this race and has yet to rejoin the server and jump back into the battle here this evening. As we do see Kyle Gray jump back out in front, Rankin falls back to fifth, and now down across the line they will click off lap number 100 here this evening. So 100 laps complete here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. 84 more laps left to go for all these drivers. It is now or never as our final stage underway. The only time we'll see a caution flag is if there's an incident out there on the racetrack as we will jump into our Peacemaker Gaming Crank It Up. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, right now we want you to crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers this evening in the full throttle out. Crank it up. You're on Peacemaker. situation right there as we get the sights and sounds here of the Full Throttle Outlaws as these third generation NASCAR Cup cars continue to battle here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're rolling into potentially seeing some more green flag pit stops out there on the racetrack. So for each and every one of these drivers potentially headed down pit road, potentially making their, I don't know if I'd call it quite yet, their final pit stop of the day. I feel like we're going to see them try to stretch this field out as far as they can here, trying to put themselves into a spot where they can hopefully try and put themselves into a situation where maybe they can make it a little bit farther, maybe try to make it where they can find a little extra speed out there and a little extra fuel and trying to navigate their way for a little while longer out there on the racetrack. As pitting too early, you don't want to do that. You don't want to put yourself into a situation where all of a sudden, you know, you have to use up a set of tires or anything else, or put yourself into a spot where all of a sudden you just cannot find that extra little bit of speed or anything, or you gotta put yourself into a spot where all of a sudden you can't, unfortunately, make it the rest of the way on fuel. So for some drivers, they're definitely going to try to stretch it. They're going to try to make it so that they only have to make that one pit stop and they don't have to come back down pit side. And if they don't have to come back down pit road, it could be a huge benefactor for them to not have to come down pit lane here this evening. So we'll have to wait and see how far they can stretch it, how far they go, and who's going to be the first one to try to make it down pit road and try to put themselves into a situation where they end up making these pit stops and potentially picking up the win here this evening. As you could win it down pit road, you're going to lose it down pit road. Out there on the racetrack is Kyle Gray out in front. Gray leads the way here in this one. Got about a 1 second gap now between himself and Christian Schrader. Schrader rolls there in position number 2 on the speedway. And then we see Charles Van Schaik up into third, Scott Rankin there in fourth. Rusty Modesty, our top 5 out there on the speedway with the number 87 of Joe Yakes and in the 87. Colton Hardy there in the 97 ride. He rolls in 7th. Kevin Winker, K-Dub up and into 8th here. So far, good run for Kevin Winker. K-Dub there in the 8th position. Definitely a run that he's been looking for, wanting to have here this evening. And he's looking for a good, solid drive out there on the speedway. Hoping to try to put himself into a good, solid winning situation out there on the racetrack, as one of these drivers competing at the maximum level here this evening. And 133 laps has been completed, where Jesse Calloway rolls there in 9th, Michael Yakes in 10th, Stephen Littrell there in 11th. Unfortunately, he is the first car 1 lap down. Michael Yakes is the last driver on the lead lap here this evening. Hunter Carlson is also there in 12th. We did see David Traylor head down pit road on lap 111. Michael Miller came back down pit road on lap 103 and has taken his car off the racetrack. Same with Bruce Bernard. So unfortunately, looks like Michael Miller, Bruce Bernard, and Jesse Wise all down and out of this race as of right now, as Kyle Gray continues to lead the way down across the line in that Cole Bolt number 78 ride. He is looking very, very fresh. Now, these guys were last down pit road on lap number 94. So, 94 laps to 35 laps. We're looking at about a 41 lap run so far. And I think these drivers are going to try to make it so they can at least split this stage up kind of and make it here on only that one pit stop here this afternoon. So trying to make it on that one stop, trying to put themselves into that situation to not have to worry about coming back down pit road, not having to make a additional pit stop here later in this race is definitely what they're hoping for. Definitely their goal out there on the speedway right now. And some absolutely amazing racing, absolutely great driving out there. These guys putting on a heck of a show for us. Really, the only caution flag for incident was on our opening lap of the race. As we took the green flag, we saw issues for Jesse Calloway. And as Calloway kind of lost control of that car, went for a little bit of a skid, he's kind of right here, still battling, still duking it out in position number 9 out there on the racetrack, and not wanting to give up anything here this evening, as and some absolute great racing, some great battles out there on the racetrack, and all these guys looking to just try to put themselves into a winning situation here this evening. Alrighty, as Kyle Gray still out in front, down across the line, lap 138. So they're really getting into that area where they only got about 46 laps left to go here in this race. Now 46 laps into this race, they've ran a 44-lap run here this evening. So 44 laps, if they can make it at least another lap or two, could definitely put them into the driver's seat here this evening. As nice and easy down through corner 3 and out of 4, it is going to be that 78 ride still out in front, not coming down pit side, not jumping down pit road as of yet for that number 78 run, but we do see Rusty Modesty. Modesty will hop down pit road here himself. So Modesty making that pit stop. He's looking to try to use it to his advantage. He feels like he can make it here on gas. So if you can make it to the end, if you can put on that kind of a show and maybe get ready to go here for the final little bit of this race, could potentially put himself into the winner's circle. That pit strategy always one that you want to look out for, man, is you just never quite know if there is a big move. If one of these drivers slides down pit road a little earlier than everybody else, could give them that tire strategy, that tire advantage. But for right now, we see these guys starting to come down pit side. Here comes Christian Strader, Joe Yakes, Jesse Calloway, Michael Yakes, Hunter Carlson. They all come down pit side here. So a lot of drivers start to make those pit stops. And now here comes our race leaders. Here comes Kyle Gray. Gray comes down pit side. Same with Charles Van Schaik. As they head down pit road, it's going to forfeit the race lead over to Scott Rankin. So Rankin now leads the way here in this one. Rankin out in front. He's showing these drivers that he may be the car to beat here this evening. As we see Kyle Gray down pit road, Kevin Winker up and into second here. So some big calls here, some big strats out of all these drivers, man. Try to figure out a way to potentially put themselves up and into victory lane here this evening. As Winker staying out, we do see Scott Rankin now comes down pit road. So Rankin makes that hard left-hand turn. He heads down pit side. Does Winker head down pit road here himself, or do we see these guys staying out? Do we see them head down pit road here tonight or not? It's going to be a bit of a wild one. It's going to be a little bit interesting to see who's going to make that call, who's going to be the strategic driver and wants to head down pit side and put themselves into a situation to make these big moves. There you go. You do see K-Dub. Kevin Winker does come down pit side, so he goes, that's the last driver to make this potential final pit stop. And now that could really put an extra, chip onto the shoulder here of this number 42 machine, as if he stays out, potentially having that little bit of extra tire, that little bit of extra fuel. If we do see a late race caution flag, maybe he does not have to come down pit side for fuel, but I think everyone's going to be coming down pit side. We make it another 40 laps, you got to come down pit road. You can't stay out there on that old fuel strategy, so we'll have to wait and see if it works out here for K-Dub this afternoon, as we do see Christian Strader able to take that race lead. So coming down pit road just one lap earlier than Kyle Gray, gave him the advantage that he was looking for to jump out in front. Now Strader does have a lap older tires than Kyle Gray, so we'll have to wait and see. Gray tends to not fire off as quickly as the number 29. Ryan Strader really seems to be really fast there in our opening couple laps of this stage, so it's going to be a bit of an interesting one, knowing that potentially if he doesn't come down pit, or if he doesn't find that extra speed, or if he has those tires fall off, 78 ride's going to be right there in a quick hurry, but it is a 2-second gap right now that he is working with, and he's trying to make some moves here, trying to put Michael Yakes a lap down out there on the racetrack. So we take a look, Kevin Winker not too far away from our race leaders here, and potentially could have went a lap down himself, but able to stay on the lead lap. And now he does have the fresher tires than everybody else, so that's a good break for K-Dub, as he should be able to put the power down and potentially keep himself in front of our race leaders and not go a lap down here this evening. But stranger things have happened, as Kyle Gray back there in second, trying to track down that 29 ride. Charles Van Schaik there in third, with Rusty Modesty back in fourth, and Scott Rankin rounding out our top 5. David Traylor there in 6, and then we see Joe Yakes, Colton Hardy, Kevin Winker, and Jesse Calloway as our top 10 out there on the racetrack. As right now Everyone just trying to keep this race clean and green. They don't want to have any more issues. They just want to keep this one going smoothly out there on the racetrack and hoping that they can try to put themselves into what could be a big winning situation here this evening as... Woo! Okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be very, very interesting to see kind of how this all plays out and how this all rolls for these drivers here this evening as Schrader out in front, Kyle Gray back there in tow, trying to hunt him down here this evening. But, man, it is not going to go very easily. It's going to be very, very tough. He's got traffic to deal with. He's got a lot of fast drivers. He's got to try to navigate himself around in. Charles Van Schaik not too far from his back bumper out there on the racetrack. Rusty Modesty there in fourth with Scott Rankin back in fifth. And then we see all these other drivers still trying to race their way up to the front of the field here this evening. And for one of these cats, they could potentially put themselves up and into a big winning situation here this afternoon as and some great racing, some great battles brewing here this evening. A lot of different storylines, a lot of different drivers are trying to hit the right targets, the right gears, the right locations on the racetrack to potentially pick up these wins here this evening as you do see Rusty Modesty there in fifth. Joe Yates back in position number 6. David Traylor, Colton Hardy rolls there in 8th right now, but he does have Kevin Winker right there behind him. Winker does have a little bit better tire than Colton Hardy. Not much, just one lap, but that one lap can make a pretty significant, adjustment here for these drivers. Could make a world of difference, and especially as this race goes on and we continue to see more and more laps being put down onto these tires. It could be that one slip up, that one mistake, and we can see some of these faster cats back there deeper in the field race their way up and into victory lane. As Christian Schrader leads the way, 1.8 seconds, still the gap between himself and Kyle Gray as 150 laps have been completed down across the line. 150 laps into the history books here this evening at the always beautiful Charlotte Motor Speedway here for the Johnny Johnson. The Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 here this evening. So the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 here this afternoon, and 184 laps on the docket for these drivers, and that's not a little bit of time. That is a lot of time out there on the racetrack. That is a lot of ups, it's a lot of downs, it's a lot of back and forths out there, and a lot of time that you gotta try and put yourself into the best position possible every single lap. And these guys have been doing an absolutely fantastic job at it, man. Each and every one of these competitors, lap after lap after lap, just continue to keep on making all the right moves. We haven't seen really too many caution flags. We saw one caution flag on our opening lap. Other than that, it has been clean and green for all of these laps, man. These guys continue to just keep on putting together some absolutely wicked laps here this evening, man, and it's going to potentially stay that way. It could potentially stay clean and green right until that checkered flag or potentially a late race caution flag really to spice things up here this evening would really make things that much more interesting this afternoon. That would make things that much more fun for all of us to enjoy here this evening, man. As a late race caution, oh man, that could really make things interesting because we did see a lot of drivers, trying to make those tire strategies early in the race, just trying to save that extra set of tires. We do see David Traylor head back down pit side, so Traylor does head down pit road here in that 54 run. Unfortunately, he is already a lap down and potentially could go 2 laps down here as he's still down on pit road, and not sure if that strategy is going to play out for him here this evening. But for Kyle Gray, he rolls there in position number 2. He's closing the gap. He's reeling in our race leader slowly but surely. He is getting there, and if he can get there, can he make a move? Can he find a way? Can he navigate himself into that top spot? As you can catch him, but you still got to figure out a way to get around Christian Schrader, and trying to take that race lead away from him is going to be a very, very tough thing here this evening. So it's going to be interesting if these drivers are going to be able to hold them off, if they are going to be able to keep them back there at bay. It's going to be probably a little bit crazy to see whether or not they're able to do it, but It's going to be fun to watch, chat. And Charles Van Schaik, he's not too far back there as well. That GOAT Racing diecast ride. He rolls right there in position number 3 for Charles. Potentially could be in a big win situation here this evening as well. So we'll have to wait and see if he can find his way into victory lane. He rolls out in front, has this race lead, has these drivers right there looking to try to make their moves, looking to try to make their way to the front of the field, but he's not wanting to give up an inch out there on the racetrack as he's in that 3rd spot, trying to hunt down both our race leader Scott Rankin there as well. He's looking to try to reel them in. Rusty Modesty back in 5th. Joe Yanks, Kevin Winker, Colton Hardy, Jesse Calloway, and Michael Yanks, our top 10. Michael is the first car 1 lap down out there on the racetrack. Jesse Calloway in 9th. He is the last driver on the lead lap here in this one. So as he rolls there in 9th, he is looking to try to keep himself on the lead lap, but our race leader right there behind him. And Strider knows that if a late race caution flag does come out, it'll be better to have more drivers a lap down than on the lead lap. So he's still trying to keep his foot in the throttle, not only to keep that number 78 of Kyle Gray back there at bay, but also trying to put some more of these drivers a lap down out there on the speedway, where that could potentially put him up and in to victory lane here today. As Kyle Gray right there in position number 2. He's about 1.3 seconds back now. He closed that gap for a couple laps there. He was able to reel in that 29 ride, but ever since he kind of got to this 1.3, 1.4 second gap between himself and the 29, Christian Schrader has once again balanced out the speed out there on the speedway, and really the 78 has not gained too much ground on him. So all the power to him, man. These guys put on a great show for us, man. This is going to be very, very interesting. Kyle came down pit road a lap after, so he does have a little bit better tires. Not much, but a little bit, and every little bit counts. Every little bit could be a win or, lose situation out there on the racetrack. So you want to make sure that you have that right strategy, that right call to potentially get it done here in this one. As we'll see them roll out there on the racetrack, 161 laps complete, and for this number 29 ride, he is hoping to see that checkered flag in a quick hurry, as we're going to take a quick short break, and we'll be right back here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Don't go anywhere. There's only 23 more laps left here in this race.
V8 screaming thunder on the track, third gen beast, never looking back. Robbing man's race the metal to the bone, full throttle outlaws, kings of the chrome. Gas brake clutch, the outlaw creed, burning rubber, full throttle speed. Roar of the engines, hearts on fire, chasing the flag, climbing higher. Drift in the slipstream, slingshot tight, bumper to bumper under stadium lights. Left turn sharper than a razor's kiss, victory lane, tasting glory's bliss. Can't stop, surgical cruise and sink, oil stained hands, steel fuel stink. Quarter mile warriors, no room for fear, living for the rush, the crowd's wild cheer. Engines howling, rivals close behind, a dance of danger, hearts intertwined. Checkered dreams in a world so raw, full throttle, outlaw, racing outlaw. Gas brake clutch, the outlaw creed, burning rubber, full throttle speed. Roar of the engines, hearts on fire, chasing the flag, climbing higher, climbing higher, climbing higher, climbing higher, climbing higher. Draft in the slipstream, slingshot tight, bumper to bumper under stadium lights. Left turn sharper than a razor's kiss, victory lane, tasting glory's bliss. Pit stop, surgical cruise and sink, oil stained hands, steel fumes stink. Quarter mile warriors, no room for fear, living for the rush, the crowd's wild cheer. Engines howling, rivals close behind, a dance of danger, hearts intertwined. Checkered dreams in a world so raw, full throttle, outlaws, racing outlaw. Yeah, full throttle speed, gas brake clutch, the outlaw creed, burning rubber, full throttle speed. Roar of the engines, hearts on fire, chasing the flag, climbing higher. rubber burns, engine scream, we hit the track, a wild dream. Full throttle outlaws, yeah, the crowd's extreme. Feel beats, trucks rumble, no time to relax. Paint scrape, sparks fly, dream chrome on the tracks. Pedal to the metal, we don't ever stall. Outlaws, ripping asphalt, steady tall. High stakes, sharp turns, we live for the rush. Racing's in the blood, it's the track we trust. Gas, fumes, and grit, it's the life we chose. Drafting time.
Alrighty, down across the line, only 17 more laps left to go here in this one, as Christian Strader continues to lead the way. The gap has now shrunk to about 0.8 of a second between first and second out there on the racetrack. And these drivers, they are not giving up. Each and every one of them still duking it out, trying to pick up as many positions as possible here this evening, trying to put themselves into what could be a winning strategy here this evening. As down across the line, they will make it only 16 more laps left to go here in this one. And now we do see Jesse Calloway. Oh man, Calloway blinking there a little bit. Unfortunately, Calloway has went a lap down there in that number 4 ride. So we are left now with only 8 drivers left on the lead lap. And right now, our 8th place driver having some struggles out there as the 97 slides up, gets a piece of the outside fence in the winning bid. Number 97 of Colton Hardy trying to hang on to it here as he rolls back in the 8th position. Kevin Winker not too far there in front of him as that Muleburger Custom Homes Impala rolls there in position number 7. Joe Yanks a little farther forward there in the Discount Tire Dodge. That 87 rolls in that 6th position, and now in position number 5 in that 5 ride, the Taco Bell machine is Rusty Modesty, who rounds out our top 5 on the racetrack. Scott Rankin right there in front of him. Charles Van Schaik in position number 3. Kyle Gray there in position number 4, and looking for more as he's looking to hunt down our race leader, Christian Strader. Strader has only about 14 laps left to go here in this race, and he's trying to do everything he can to keep these guys back there at bay, trying to keep himself here at the front of the field, looking for the dub here this evening. But as the laps continue to keep on counting down, we inch closer and closer to that checkered flag. And for these drivers, they know that one slip up, one mistake, one wrong move could potentially make or break your day here at the Speedway. For Christian Strader, he's just trying to keep on hitting his marks, keep that number 78 and the rest of the field back there at bay as Kyle Gray pushing the subject here. Maybe starting to burn up those tires a little bit more than I think he wants to as he's trying to run down this 29 ride, trying to close that gap, trying to catch up to him and trying to see if he can steal this race lead away as Gray blinking a little bit right there. Luckily enough, blinks back onto the track, no issues, able to keep on rolling there in position number 2 as that time around he gained about 0.8 of a second. Last lap around he gave up a 10th, so a little bit of this cat and mouse game where Strader runs about a 10th quicker than the 78 ride runs the 10th quicker, but we'll have to wait and see if Kyle Gray can kind of find that late race speed. He knows that the laps are clicking down, and quickly these guys are seeing this checkered flag out not very far away from now, and potentially that late race caution flag still could fly. We see these drivers now with the older tires there slipping and sliding. The fatigue is setting in. They have done a lot of laps here. We have been clean and green since the lap 94 pit stop, so we really saw the second stage come to a close there on lap 92. And then when we went back to green flag racing around lap 95, these guys have been clean and green ever since then. So a very, very long run. A lot of laps laid down here. We're getting closer and closer to about 80 laps of green flag racing here, and it was a fairly long run before that as well, since stage 2 went clean and green as well. So really we've only seen 3 caution flags. We saw a caution flag on the opening lap down across our finish line. As we got the initial green flag, we saw some issues and the caution flag got displayed, and then we ended up seeing obviously our first stage at lap 30, our second stage at lap 92. So not a whole lot of time for these drivers to kind of sit back and relax, maybe try to catch their breath, kind of get a little bit of a chill in and try to cool down a little bit, as they are going to be running hot out there on the racetrack, and I'm sure they are Schrader sweating up a bunch, especially these two here at the front of the field. Christian Schrader trying to hang on to the late race lead. He sees this 78 ride, trying to reel him in. Kyle Gray quickly rolling into his back bumper here. Now Kyle may be able to catch him, may be able to reel into the back bumper of this 29 ride, but then he's still got to figure out a way how to pass him here without contact, without incident here, and try to cleanly pass him and take this race win away from that 29 ride. It's going to be a lot easier said than done for Kyle Gray, and the time is starting to run out to be able to make those moves, to be able to make that call and make the strategy work here for the 78 machine. His time is running very, very short. He is quickly running at a time. As down across the line, we will see only 7 more laps left to go here. 7 more laps of racing action here from Charlotte Motor Speedway, as the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 here from Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Full Throttle Outlaws Gen 3 Cup Car Series. Here this year, this season, man, they have put on a heck of a show for us each and every one of these races. We saw a few go a little bit chaotic with the yellows, but we saw a lot of really good, hard green flag laps. These guys really know how to put on a show for us, and these guys starting to get a little bit more of a hang of these race cars, trying to figure these things out more and more and more. We're starting to see them find more speed into these things, more courage and commitment with these things, as they are really sending them in there now, and they're not scared of stepping them out, sliding a little sideways, and being able to catch them and keep them going in the right direction. And it's creating for some very good racing action. Is nice and easy down and out of corner number 4, back down across the start finish line, and across the line we will see 5 more laps left to go. So the big high five from the flag man here this evening for Christian Schrader. 5 laps left to go, and Kyle Gray is there. A car length between our first and second place drivers here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Gray looking to try to pick up the win. Christian Schrader trying to keep him back there at bay. Charles Van Shank unfortunately has fallen back about 2.5 seconds behind these drivers, and unfortunately no longer in the battle for the race win, but still trying to hold on to that 3rd spot. He's got about 2.5 seconds himself between him and our 4th place driver, Scott Rankin, as Rankin rolls there in position. Number 4, Rusty Modesty back there in 5th. Joe Yakes there in 6th, trying to hunt down that 5 right, looking to move himself up inside the top 5. Kevin Winker back in 7th, Colton Hardy there in 8th. Jesse Calloway and Michael Yakes rounding out our top 10 here on the racetrack, is Christian Schrader up the racetrack. Here comes the 78 there, door to door, down and out of corner number 4, as back down across the line. 3 laps left to go here in this one. The Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 putting on a great show for us as late in this race. It is Kyle Gray trying to take the late race lead away from the Reese's 29 ride of Christian Schrader. Schrader, though, a great run out of corner number 2. He's able to hang on to the top spot there as he's able to pull back down in front of the 78, but here comes another big run from that Lowe's machine. Maybe a little bit of a block right there from the 29. There's going to be no more holding back here, as these guys know that there is only 2 laps left to go. 2 more laps, and down low the 78, he's hoping to clear this number 29. There goes Colton Hardy down to the inside. Hardy's going to move down out of the way. He is going to let those two duke it out here. And Schrader, he's been throwing the blocks. He's been making the right moves, putting his car into the best lines possible, and able to hold this 78 ride back there at bay. And he's got to do it for 1 more lap, as there is the white flag. 1 more time around for Christian Schrader. Schrader trying to pick up the checkered flag here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kyle Gray trying to steal it away from him, though, on the final lap of this race, is down the back straightaway. Nose to tail down into corner number 3. Looks like the 78 will go to the high side, looking for a big run. Schrader down low. He's looking to maybe slide up and block the run that the 78 ride's going to have. Is down in out of corner number 4. The 78 and Kyle Gray gets into the fence, and it's Christian Schrader who picks up the checkered flag here in the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276, live from Charlotte Motor Speedway here in these 3rd gen NASCAR Cup cars. Schrader gets it done, picks up the checkered flag here in the Full Throttle Outlaws Racing League. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for our race winner, Christian Strader. Strader, a bit of a different strategy there. He was able to jump out in front with the earlier pit stop over Kyle Gray, and unfortunately Gray, even though he had the better tires there and a little bit faster car potentially at the end of this race, the 29 ride just putting his car in the best position possible to hold all these drivers back there at bay and hold off all those charges out of that 78 ride. And keeping him back there at bay was no easy task. He had to really commit to throwing some of those big moves, big blocks, or trying to find those big runs. And luckily enough, it all works out for the Monte Carlo SS, that Pennzoil Races 29 ride of Christian Strader. Strader picks up the win and now gets to celebrate the dub here this evening as we'll get ready to pull in our top three up and into the broadcast booth for their post-race interviews. So post-race interviews coming up next. We'll pull all these drivers in, our top three drivers in for their post-race interviews here this evening as we all wait for them to slide in here. We haven't seen them yet jump into the booth, so we'll have to wait and see when they slide in there as we're waiting for Strader and Kyle Gray and Charles Van Schaik to jump up into the broadcast booth here this evening for their win in top three runs here this evening. We do see Charles already up and into the booth, so good to see Charles jumping in there. We'll get ready to pull him in shortly. We're hoping to see if we can get our race leader in first, our race winner in, Christian Strader first, but I haven't seen him jump into the waiting room yet. There he is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here to our race winner, Christian Strader. As Strader picks up the dub here this evening, let's get him up here into the broadcast booth. Hey, Christian, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Yeah, how you doing, Aaron?
Not too bad, Christian, man. What a run, what a race for you here tonight, man. It seemed like this car was a bit of a rocket ship. Obviously, a few times we saw you there early on some of these starts, being able to jump up, make the move, get around Kyle Gray, and start leading some laps, and then obviously trying to play that tire strategy, the fuel strategy game plan here. A lot of green flag laps out there, and late in this one, you're able to hit that strategy perfectly as you came down a lap earlier than the 78 ride, so you ended up leapfrogging him, jumping back out in front, had a 2-second lead. You're able to hold that lead for quite a while there, and then all of a sudden, in these closing laps, Kyle able to track you down. Looked like you had the faster car, maybe the better tires, but you had the better, track position, have that clean air on the front nose of that 29 ride, able to make some big moves and have some big runs to keep him back there at bay. And unfortunately for Kyle, even though he had the, potentially faster car or potentially better tires, did not have that top spot. You're able to hold him off here and keep him back there at bay and slide this 29 up and into the Charlotte Motor Speedway victory lane, man. Take us back through this race. And what's going through your mind right now as you park it up there in victory lane?
Man, I am still a little shaken from that. That was a pretty close race. Kyle was definitely a little bit quicker on the long run. Kind of felt like we had similar speed all race. But kind of going back and forth, I felt like if I could get the lead early, I could try to hold on. But if I didn't get it, I felt like he was a little bit better on the long run. And so I chose to pit one lap earlier than him and ended up with the lead and was able to kind of hang on there.
Absolutely. You're able to hang on. You're able to hold them off here this evening, and you park yourself up and into victory lane, man. Take us through some of the action here. Obviously, we know you guys had 5 sets of tires here. Obviously, full fuel. How long could you guys make it on fuel, and how bad were these tires getting at the end of some of these runs?
Fuel-wise, we could get about 45 laps. Tires, honestly, I thought they were pretty good. I thought they held on pretty well. I didn't feel like the car really got too out of shape. It didn't really lean too tight, didn't lean too loose. Felt like it got a little bit tight as the run went on, and you kind of wore them down. But pretty easy to get through one pit stop, one pit cycle. Car kind of felt pretty good. I really can't say too much against the car. It was handling pretty good. I just felt like Kyle was a little bit better at just backing off a little bit, being a little conservative on the front half. Felt like he had good pace, and other than that, I mean, I feel like the race, like there was a lot of racing. There was good racing. It was just, I was gonna say, it's hard to kind of go back and pick out anything. I mean, it's a long race. It was a long race.
It is a
I don't.
very, very long race. Yeah, 184 laps here at Charlotte. Obviously, our longest race or close to it here for the series. Obviously, being the bit of a Memorial Day and following along with the longest race in NASCAR, like we just saw with the Coke 600. And here tonight, man, you guys put on a lot of laps. Take us kind of through that. How do you plan for a long race like this? And obviously, a very physically and mentally demanding race. It's a lot of laps, man. A lot of turns and beating and banging and battling and stress and everything else, man. How do you focus and get ready for a race like this?
Um, Run a lot of practice. Kind of get in early, start logging laps, getting used to running the car long, and getting into a rhythm. That's kind of the big thing with these longer races is kind of just finding your rhythm, finding your pace. You don't want to over push, you don't want to under push, and you want to race the other cars that are around you, but you also want to kind of give and take a little bit. So I felt like the field did a lot of give and take and kind of letting people by if they were quicker, defending if they thought they were quicker. Just kind of made for some good racing, very respectful, very clean. It makes the race feel long, which physically, I mean, everything's all good. We're luckily not sitting inside of hot race cars and going around the track at 200 miles per hour for real. So physically, it works out pretty well. But I haven't been in the car for this long, and I mean it's been a little bit for typically run about 50, 60 laps shorter than this. But mentally, I mean, kind of taxed me tonight. Just it's hard, a lot of focus, being sharp the entire time because Kyle was right there. Um, it was a tough night. It was definitely a tough night. Kind of just out there in my head right now.
Yeah, definitely a
Excited for
tough
winning.
night. Tough night, long race, but it all works out perfectly here for you as you're able to slide that 29 up and into victory lane here in the Johnny Johnson Motorsports 276 here this evening at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Christian, who would you like to thank, man, for such a great run and solid drive here this evening?
Of course, I'd like to thank Colton for putting everything together. They do a really good job over here. The racing's been great. The race control's been great. Want to give a shout out to you. Do a great job with the broadcast and kind of give us a chance to kind of watch ourselves on the big screen, right? And then I also like to thank Matt, Rusty, Hunter, Steven. They run with me and they help out finding like a little bit here and there and just also kind of keeping me in tune with the race and providing company.
Beauty. Well, Christian, great run, great drive. Congratulations on the checkered flag here this evening, brother, and hopefully many more on the season to come for you and many more trips up here into the broadcast booth.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be seeing you next week again, right?
Absolutely, man. We'll look forward to it and hopefully see you right back up here in the booth.
Awesome. Well, you have a good night, Aaron, and I appreciate you putting everything together for us.
Absolutely, brother. Enjoy the rest of your night as well, and don't party too hard down there in Victory Lane.
Try not to. Luckily, this is Friday night, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what? Go get yourself a beer after that one, brother.
Appreciate it, man.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Christian Strader. Strader comes home with the checkered flag here this evening. What a run and what a drive there for that 29 machine. As we'll get ready now to pull in our second place finisher, it's Kyle Gray. Kyle coming home there in position number 2. Let's pull him up into the broadcast booth. Hey, Kyle, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. They get a copy?
Yes, I do.
Kyle, man, solid run, great drive all evening long, and the strategy almost works out in your favor, but unfortunately just could not find what you needed late in this race to make the move around Christian Strader as he's able to hold you off and keep himself in that winner's circle, and unfortunately had to settle in for position number 2 here this evening, man. Take us back through this race and what's kind of going through your mind right now as you sit down pit side.
Yeah, it was 184 laps, so I knew I wasn't going to push hard, but I had to push to see how much I could do, and everybody kind of took off early, so I was just being patient, and we had those stage races, and somebody mix up this, other people mix the strategy up. So um, I took my last set of tires. So if we had a caution at the last, I mean, we would have been done. But all in all, it was a good race and clean. And yeah, I was saving. It wasn't pushing. I'd seen Christian. He was kind of holding back a little bit. So then I knew it was time to go, about 10 to go. And, he's got an orange car, but turn two and the orange car do not mix.
Yeah, the sun definitely wreaking havoc on you there, and with that 29 Brian right in front of you, and as you were trying to hunt him down, obviously we saw a couple times you were able to get underneath of him, you were able to pull kind of door to door, you just weren't quite able to complete that pass and seal this win away from him. What was kind of going through your mind there in those closing 10 laps, trying to make that move, trying to find that run that you needed to slide up in front of the 29 and steal this win away from him?
Well, Colton, we were catching him, and he pulled out of the way off of two, and yeah, Christian, he was taking um the draft off my door on the right side, so I was just kind of sideways, and yeah, sending it into three, squalling tires. I mean, it was a good race all in all, but that's two in a row, missed it by that much.
Yeah, it's so close to finding victory lane again here as now you park it up in position number 2 after 184 laps of racing action and only, 3 caution flags. The early one there on the opening lap and then our 2 stage breaks. So a lot of green flag laps, a lot of work out there on the racetrack, man. You guys got to be tuckered out after what's going to be our longest race of the season.
Yeah, that wore me out. Yeah, I got another long race tomorrow. That's 200 laps at Pocono for Gen 4 League that I run on Saturday nights, and I got my work cut out for this weekend.
Definitely got your work cut out for you this weekend, man. Good luck on that one. But, man, heck of a run, heck of a drive here tonight in that 78 ride. Kyle, congrats on the second place run. Who'd you like to thank for another solid performance out there on the racetrack?
Well, I gotta thank Lowe's because that car is fast. My wife for letting me to do this on the weekends, and Colton, and this is good. This is a good series, and everybody races clean, and hope everybody sticks it out. And your stream's very on point, and yeah, go on to the next one.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, brother. Well, Kyle, great run, great drive here this evening, man. We can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next Friday and hopefully one spot better and up and into victory lane yourself.
Hope so.
You enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, you too.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our second place finisher, Kyle Gray. Kyle comes home there in position number 2 as we'll get ready to pull in now our third place finisher, the 23 of Charles Van Schaik. Alright, let's get Charles up here. Hey, Charles, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. You get a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Charles, man, another solid run, another great race here for you, man. Obviously, a lot of green flag laps, a lot of strategy calls being played out there. And late in this race, you're able to find yourself up into position number 3, or right there with Kyle Gray, trying to hang on with him and try to hunt down that 29 ride of Christian Strader. But late in this race, as Kyle started to pull away from you, it kind of fell back and had to just settle in for a third place run here this evening, man. Take us back through this one and what's kind of going through your mind as you join these guys up on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, the start time kills me. I don't get any. I mean, I ran this car probably 4 or 5 years ago when I was getting, or 3 or 4 years ago when I was getting my, coming up and getting the license. But, start time kills me. I literally come in, I don't put a single lap in, and I'm going to the back because these cars are loose. At least in my opinion, they're very loose. You can get a little bit of overconfidence there and going into a turn, and next thing you know, you're looking at the infield because you're spinning. So you know, I have to start in the back. I don't want to ruin anyone's races, especially with being one of the higher, I guess, I rating in there. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. Even though for the first 15, 20 laps I don't, because I got to get a feel for it. So then I tried playing the. I mean, I got up to seventh for stage one, and I think I was looking at my relative or my overlays. I was the fastest car on the track there at the end, so I figured that out. So figured I would you know, with how loose it was, and I saw that first run there was more smoke than a Snoop Dogg concert with everyone hitting the wall. So I said, you know what, let me at this end of stage one, let me not take tires. I'll pit early, you know, once I can hit the fuel window. Third tires on to save a set, which ultimately killed me at the end because once again I had to start in the back, make my way up. But at that point, I burned way too much tire to get with these guys who were saving tires. So I was able to stay with them for a little bit, hit the wall a couple times, and then they started pulling away. And then at that point, I was just looking at my relative to make sure I stayed in P3 and just keeping pace, keeping a 3-second cushion between me and I think it was Scott that was in fourth. And then just keeping keeping the car on the track in case those two got into it and then maybe steal a win. But I was banking on a caution at the end because my strategy didn't work. So, but I did have an extra set there. I would have probably been the clear cut if the caution came out. But unfortunately, that wasn't the way it happened.
Yeah, unfortunately, no late race caution flag here this evening for you to help you out, as there wasn't a whole lot of drivers that had that extra set back there behind pit wall, and obviously the tire fall off, in between these 40 lap runs, about 2 seconds or so of tire fall off, so you would have been able to just zoom right on by these guys if they, couple late race caution flags, and unfortunately, did not play it that way here for you tonight as you had to settle in for a third place finish here this evening, but you were our hard charger as you were able to gain 10 positions and jump up here into that third spot all the way from 13th here this evening as you put that 23 right back up on the podium. Charles, man, who would you like to thank for such a great run and strong performance here this evening?
For the broadcasts, they're fun to watch. Colton and the guys. I saw David ran tonight. Usually he's race control. I don't know what their configuration is, but the race control, just the way the leagues ran, it's a little disappointing we don't have bigger fields because I do think this has as someone who ran leagues and was a part of pretty big leagues, this is ran right up there. With the best of them. It's just the car count needs to get up a little bit. I think the car might be scaring them a little bit, but the car is fun. Once you figure it out, it just takes me a little bit. And then to my company, Go Racing Diecast. Any of your diecast, RC, or custom needs, just check me out at goatracingdiecast.com. We will be sponsoring Brayton Laster again this season. We did it in Daytona. We will be sponsoring him at my home track at Dover. So check that out. I believe that's a Friday afternoon race coming up in July. So keep an eye out for the logo that you see on my car will be on his car. I believe it's on FX1. So, and then other than that, just the drivers of the league. Like I said, I wish there was a bigger car count because it's some good racing, some clean driving. I think one of the other guys said it. If someone knew they were slower than the other guy, they were giving them room. It was just all around good racing and hopefully fun for you to call.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a fun time being up here in the booth and watching you guys duke it out as we saw, pretty much for the most part, nonstop racing, man. There was always some sort of a battle out there, whether or not it was, a two-wide fight for 10th or a two-wide fight for first. It was always something going on out there, man. Some great racing action. Everyone put on a great show for us here with only 3 caution flags, 2 for our stages and 1 for that first lap incident there down across the start finish line. But other than that, clean and green, a lot of green flag laps and a great show by all of the drivers. Charles, congrats on the third place run, brother, and we can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack next Friday and hopefully right back up here and in the broadcast booth, maybe a couple spots better and in victory lane yourself.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, you too.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our third place finisher, Charles Van Schaik. As Van Schaik comes home in position number 3 here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in and showing the love here this evening. A lot of great racing action, a lot of great battles out there on the speedway. Unfortunately, racing action has come to a close, and that is going to do it for us here tonight. We can't thank you guys enough, though, for tuning in and showing the love here in this one, as we will catch you guys back in action tomorrow night up here in the broadcast booth, as we'll be back into the action with the Premium Stock Car Racing League as their playoffs continue, and another crazy race will be up here in the booth for all the fans in the stands to watch. Everything else, man, it's going to be a great show, great race, and hopefully we see each and every one of you is up in the grandstands cheering those drivers on and watching some great racing again here on Peacemaker Gaming tomorrow evening. But thank y'all for watching, thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys back here in the next one. Peace and love, baby. Peace and love, ladies and gentlemen.
V8 screaming, thunder on the track. Dirt jam beast, never looking back. Robin is racing, metal to the bone. Full throttle outlaws, kings of the chrome. Gas brake clutch is the outlaw creed. Burning rubber, full throttle speed. War on the engines, hearts on fire. Chasing the flag, climbing higher. In a slipstream, slingshot tight. Bumper to bumper, under stadium lights. Left turn sharper than a razor's kiss. Victory lane, tasting glory's bliss. Pit stop surgical, cruise in sync. Oil stained hands, fuel fume stink. Quarter mile warriors, no room for fear. Living for the rush, the crowd's wild cheer. Engines howling, rivals close behind. A dance of danger, hearts intertwined. Checkered dreams in a world so raw. Full throttle outlaws, racing outlaw law. Gas brake clutch is the outlaw creed. Burning rubber, full throttle speed. War on the engines, hearts on fire. Chasing the flag, climbing higher. Gas brake clutch is the outlaw creed. Burning rubber, full throttle speed. War on the engines, hearts on fire. Chasing the flag, climbing